Hi everyone! So last week I received my copy of Fragile World, the new book from Kerby Rosanes, and this has absolutely blown up on Facebook and on social media because everyone has been so keen and so desperate to get their hands on Kerby's new book. I think it's because his style is so unique and is such a prolific illustrator in the colouring book world that he's got a massive fan base of people who really love his particular style. So yeah, I think a lot of people have been really excited to get their hands on this book. I did a flip through of it, which I'll leave the link for in the description below. If you just want to see the images inside, you know, really quickly and in silence, you can watch that video. This is going to be my full review. So we're going to take you through every single page and illustration that's in here. Now, it is quite a different book to Kerby's previous works. As you know, Kerby has a very, I've already said unique, it's a very singular style, which contains a lot of doodles and, you know, a lot of details and things going on adjacent to the main subject. So you can see here, for example, we have a turtle, but he's got a whole coral reef on his back, sort of making up his shell. And that's what Kerby does, he sort of amalgamates things together. So this images, it's slightly, I don't want to say deceptive, that's a really strong word, but it does make you feel like we're going to get a book full of illustrations like we had on his previous book, Worlds Within Worlds, which brings the two things together, so an animal and a building, for example. This book isn't that. It's very different to what we've seen from him before. It's a little bit more serious, a bit more naturalistic, and it has a lot less of the doodles and the signature style that we've come to know. Now, that is, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. So if you weren't keen on the doodles and, you know, a lot of things going on with little creatures and random things, then you'll definitely prefer this book. It's a bit like something that you would see, say, if National Geographic bought a book out. But I know I'm waffling, I've not even opened the book yet, so I'll just describe that as we go through. But if you are someone who has loved the doodles and that kind of thing in the past, you'll probably miss them within this book. But anyway, let's just open it and have a look. So the book itself is the same size, shape, format as Kerby's previous books. It has a matte cover which has some glossy accents, like you can see here on the turtle, that's all glossy, as is the title. And then on the back we've got a beautifully coloured rainbow image of a tiger there, which is also glossy. And it just says, enter the enchanting world of artist Kerby Rosanes. Discover some of Earth's most endangered animals in their natural habitats and ecosystems and bring each creature to life with colour. Find out what threatens their survival and the vital roles they play in our fragile world. It says that a royalty from the sale of this book will be donated to the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation. So if you are a massive fan of Kerby's, you do miss the doodles, and this isn't, you know, one of your favourite books of his, I would still encourage you to get it if you can, because there are some absolutely stunning illustrations in this book. And yes, they are a little bit more serious, like I said, but the main thing is your purchase of this book will be giving back to these beautiful animals and endangered creatures that are inside. So it is really it's definitely worth buying for anybody really, but just don't be too put off, I think, is what I'm trying to say, by the fact that it's a little less Kerby than we've come to know. So here we are, Fragile World, the title page. We've got the turtle just cracking open from his egg, so even here you can colour something in on the title page. Now, we all know in Kerby's books he likes to do a big elaborate books belongs to page. So you can see here we've got what looks like, well, it looks like the jungle, doesn't it, with all of these really exotic plants and flowers and huge trees. So yeah, definitely jungle or rainforest type thing there. Then we've got a little bit more about the Wildlife Foundation that I mentioned. So it says, the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation is a UK registered charity working to save endangered animals in the wild. Their mission is to increase awareness around the world about the need to protect and conserve wildlife and their habitats. And then the intro from Kerby says, step into my high definition, super detailed world where you'll discover some of the most endangered and vulnerable animals in their natural habitats. Each intricate illustration has been crafted with fine liner pens and can be coloured in any way you like. Find out more information about each animal at the back of the book, which is a really good thing to point out, actually, because I probably would have forgotten. At the back of the book, you can see here we've got information about every single animal on every single page, and I will be flipping back and forward just to give you some key facts and you know, identify some of the animals, because I don't know what all of them are exactly. But the first image absolutely blew me away, and this, to be honest, is very Kirby-like. It's stunning. You've got the snow leopard here making up the base of this mountain range, and we've got the mountain goats, you know, climbing all over him as if he is literally part of the landscape. So this is, you know, it's quintessential Kirby. So it does say snow leopards, it says they're vulnerable. So it does tell you the classification of how endangered the animal is. And, you know, you've got a little bit of information there just to find out more about the creature. And it's not all, you know, doom and gloom. It tells you about the brilliant features that each animal has, you know, what it can do, and just really interesting facts. So, yeah, a fantastic image to open with. I love it. And you will notice as well that unlike previous Kirby books, each page is numbered down here in the corner. So you can go backwards and forwards, check your page numbers and make sure that you've got the right creatures. So here are a couple of standalone images. As I said, I'm going to keep going backwards and forwards. I'm sorry if that's annoying. We've got the New Zealand lesser short-tailed bats. So you can see all of these bats coming out of the hole in the tree there. Again, we're in this sort of rainforest situation. I don't know where they're from. It should tell us. Oh, of course, New Zealand. I've literally just said it. So New Zealand, that's where this is, you know, this picture is set. And then we've got beautiful gorilla. It's called a mountain gorilla, and it says that they live in the forests of the mountains of Central Africa. Again, another very, very Kirby-like image. You can see the gorilla has the mountain range on his back, and we've got a beautiful waterfall falling down there as well into the trees. But as we go through, you will see that we've kind of stepped away from those doodles and that kind of style. You can see here on these two pictures. So these are very much like something you would find in a generic animal colouring book. Beautiful, no doubt, but they don't scream Kerby Rosanes immediately at you. I'm sure you'll agree. So we've got some penguins here. These are the southern rockhopper penguins, which live on the rocky shorelines of the coast north of Antarctica. And then here, I believe these are tree frogs. Oh, leaf frogs. Lemur leaf frogs found in Costa Rica, Panama and Colombia. So yeah, completely different to really what we've come to know. A lot more shaded as well. You'll see that as we go through the book. Some of the images are quite a bit darker than we know of Kirby. Kind of reminds me slightly of his style in Phantomorphia, where there was much more shading, but I do far prefer this book. So these are lemurs, I'm sure. Ring-tailed lemurs found on the island of Madagascar and some of its small neighbouring islands off the coast of East Africa. And like I said, it just tells you little bits about the creatures. So it says that they forage for fruit, the seeds of which are then spread throughout the forest in their droppings. So again, that would grow from the seeds, and it's just super interesting. It's kind of like watching Blue Planet, you know. In fact, that would be a really great thing to do when you're colouring this, is to watch a David Attenborough documentary, you know, Blue Planet or Planet Earth, that kind of thing. So this looks like an anteater. I could be wrong. Yeah, totally wrong. It's an antelope, a saiga antelope, one of the most ancient mammals on the planet today, and they've existed since the time of the woolly mammoth. They're found in Kazakhstan, Russia and Mongolia. So there we go. You can see again the way that he's sort of formatted the image. It's very often the animal itself in large format and then smaller sort of things going on the animal's back. And you'll see that theme as we go through. A lot of the time it's not things that have been amalgamated together, rather it's things that are being put on top of the creature. You know, I'm rubbish at explaining things. This is absolutely gorgeous though, and it's very geomorphia. So you can see we've got the bear, which obviously is going to be a polar bear. Yeah, polar bear in the Arctic, and it's creating, or you know, the formation of this iceberg underneath the waves. And you've got the seals swimming around as well, and also a depiction of the northern lights. So that would be beautiful to colour, maybe in purples, greens and blues, so keeping it really cool and giving it that Arctic feel. Okay, so we've got some monkeys here, but I don't want to say what they are. Chimpanzees. Okay, so they're found across Central and West Africa. And as you can see, it's a double page spread. The only thing about these books is that you have to really struggle with the spine to get in the centre. It is a shame. This is the UK edition that I'm reviewing, and it has a stitch bound binding. I think in the US they often glue bind it, and sometimes they can come apart, but UK edition is stitch bound, but we still have that problem there with getting into the spine. So these look like a couple of bison. I just want to check. I know it's really annoying going backwards and forwards. American bison are near threatened. They inhabit North America, and they search the plains for grasses, herbs and shrubs whilst aerating the soil at the same time that aids plant growth. So really, really important. All of these animals are really important, and it is really sad actually going through the book and reading about them and how endangered they are. You know, that we could seriously be in with a chance of losing these creatures forever. You know, it's really upsetting actually, but this book it's putting money towards the cause, and also it's giving people awareness of the problems and what's going on and things like that, so it's only a good thing. So yeah, the bison facing each other. Again, this is another Kirby thing. You will see two animals on opposing pages facing each other, and you can do what you want with these. You can make it like night and day, dark and light, different colour palettes. And as you can see, the top of the bison have all of the grasses and the plants and things that they help to maintain in the ecosystem. So we've got insect now. This is Queen Alexandra's bird-winged butterflies, which are endangered, and they live exclusively in Papua New Guinea. They're the largest butterflies in the world, with wingspans of up to 28 centimetres. That is huge for a butterfly. And then we've got the rusty-patched bumblebees. Now, I love bees. Bees are one of my favourite animals. I love them, love them, love them. And it always saddens me when I think about, you know, how important bees are, but how people take them for granted. I know that's super sad. But yeah, I absolutely love bees. And it's saying that these particular bees once thrived across much of North America, but over the last 20 years, the population has dropped by almost 90%. And this is mainly due to lost habitat. So I'm really hoping that they'll be able to reintroduce these bees and sustain them, you know, in the future. But yeah, so there's the butterfly and then the bee. And as you can see, the bee's got lots of plants and things and flowers growing out of its back. And then the other bees are coming to take the nectar from the flowers. So again, it's like I said, you've got the main creature in a sort of big format, and then you've got things growing out of it or on top of it. And that's what you'll find within the book. So we've got a couple of sharks now. I've lost my page. Where are we? Great white sharks, found in the cool coastal waters around the world. They're the largest predatory fish on Earth. It says the numbers are decreasing due to a range of factors, not only because they're caught and sold as food, but they're also prized as sport fish, and their teeth and jaws are sold for vast sums of money. It is so, so sad. Really, really upsetting. But I love sharks. So then we've got, I think this is some sort of baboon. Let's check. Oh, it's a mandrill. So a mandrill is the largest of all monkey species and can only be found in the rainforests of equatorial Africa. And then we've got the Philippine Eagles, which are critically endangered, and they are endemic to the Philippines. They're one of the most powerful birds of prey in the world, and they're right at the top of the food chain. So absolutely beautiful creature. It really reminds me of the griffin from Mythomorphia that I coloured. Very much kind of the same sort of look to the bird. But again, you can see we've got this huge bird, and then he's got a mountain range on top. So as much as I love the book, even though it's definitely stepped away from Kirby's style, I do think that some of the images could have been a little bit better thought out, rather than just plonking a habitat or an environment on top of a creature, which seems to have been done several times throughout the book. These, obviously they're some sort of fish, but who knows what they are. Let's just check so I don't get it wrong. Humphead wrasses, and they swim through the coral reefs off the coast of Asia and East Africa. So double page spread of those. I guess making these. I don't know what colour they're meant to be. You could do like a research, you know, on a reference photo, but I think with lots of blue in the background and the colours of the coral, and then these being sort of bright, almost neon yellow, would look really, really cool. Look at these cuties. So these are black-footed ferrets, and they're among the most endangered mammals of North America. So, you know, just they're so sweet. It's just so really sad, again, just to think of animals like this being wiped from our planet. But can you see what I meant about the darker shading? So you can see, again, with the previous image and then with these pandas as well, there is quite a lot of shading and line work in these. That'll be preferential to some and not to others. So it depends what you think. Really, really love this hippopotamus. I just want to get some information about it. They're native to more than 30 African countries. They spend up to 16 hours a day in rivers and lakes, which helps to keep their bodies cool under the hot sun. And of course, they have the adaptations that suit their lifestyle with them being semi-aquatic. So they've got webbed toes, and their eyes, ears and nostrils are really high on the head, so they can still see, hear and breathe whilst almost completely submerged. Isn't it amazing? Just the natural world is, I could go on about it forever, you know, how incredible it is that, you know, these creatures have developed all of these, you know, different features to help them live life the best they can. So you can see here we've got the hippopotamus in the water, and we've got some what look like little water lettuces on top, and then some seagulls or whatever they are. Really like that image. We've got another bat here. Is this a fruit bat? It is, yes, the Philippine naked-backed fruit bats. They are a cave roosting species endemic to the Philippines, found only on 2 of its islands. By the 1970s, this species was believed to have gone extinct. However, small populations were found on each island in the early 2000s. But the main threats to these bats' survival are overhunting, deforestation and disturbance at their cave roosts. So, you know, they almost went extinct. We almost lost them. And luckily, we still have a very few in the ecosystem. So this is some sort of leopard, isn't it? Let's have a look. Oh, it's a jaguar. Scratch that. I can never tell the difference. Jaguars live in the forests and the grasslands of the Amazon in South America. They are the top predators in their environment, therefore controlling the populations of other species and balancing the food chain. They are strong swimmers and climbers, so they can span large areas of the rainforest and the riverbank. This one's going to look incredible. I want to see this image coloured as many times as possible just to get lots of inspiration, because I can just imagine how people are going to make this look so realistic with the beautiful clear waters, the lily pads, and the jaguar just slinking through. I absolutely love Kerby's double page spreads. They do take a long time to do, no doubt, but they look the best when they're done. So this looks to me like some sort of heron. Definitely going to be wrong though. These are whooping cranes, and they have a very limited habitat apparently, with a breeding ground in Canada and a yearly migration to Texas for the winter. So go ahead and live in Canada in the summer, migrate to Texas. Sounds like a good life to me. We've got an elephant here. So this is the Asian elephant, made up of 3 subspecies. Asian elephants inhabit forests and grasslands along the South and Southeast Asia. They feed on grasses, bark, roots and leaves. I absolutely love elephants. But can you see this one has been mixed with architecture. So we've got kind of the stones and things going on with the steps coming down the elephant's head, and the grasses kind of embedded into the elephant's trunk. And we've got a couple of monkeys playing here on his ear. So very Kirby-like image. Then we've got the 3 owls. These are forest owlets that live in central India, and unlike most other owls, they are active during the day. So that's really interesting. Obviously, owls are known to be nocturnal. This is another one of those images that I was talking about with the jaguar, where it's going to look just mind-blowing when, you know, it's been coloured properly. It's a crocodile, isn't it? Don't tell me it's an alligator, because I'll go mad. No, it's not. It's neither. Well, actually, it's a crocodilian. So it is a type of crocodile, so I was correct. But it's actually called a gharial. I hope that's how you say it. And it's a type of Asian crocodilian. They live in freshwater river systems, congregating at river bends where the water is at its deepest. And they're top predators in their habitat and help maintain river ecosystems. But sadly, you can only find them in 2 countries now, India and Nepal. The threat to their survival, as with many of these animals, is human activity. It's us that ruin it. It really, really is. And like I said, I could go on about it forever, but it's really, really sad that these animals that have been on our planet for, you know, millions of years, and then the human species come along, and through greed and things, you know, we're erasing these animals, these amazing animals. So yeah, I love the fact that it's got the little tortoise on its head and on its snout, just walking down there. I feel a little bit worried, a little bit concerned for these turtles here. They're playing with fire, I think. But again, the most fantastic thing about this to me is also all of this kind of brush that is coming off of the crocodile's back. And like I said, I can just imagine it being amazing when it's coloured. So these are, I'm going to say seals because walrus have the tusks. Let's see. Yes, Galapagos Sea Lions, which are endangered. They dwell in large colonies on the rocks and sandy shores of the Galapagos Islands, somewhere I've always wanted to go. It just looks so untouched and Jurassic. It's amazing. They hunt a variety of fish that can be found close to shore, because if they venture further afield, it puts them at risk of being eaten by sharks and whales. So there they are on the beach, and you can see the waves just coming and crashing into the rocks here. Then we've got that beautiful tiger from the back of the book, which coloured in rainbow looks amazing. So I might actually use that idea and colour this in rainbow as well, because it's fantastic. Let's have a look. So this is actually the Sumatran tiger, which are native to the Indonesian island of Sumatra. Despite being the smallest subspecies of tiger, they are still top predators at the apex of the food chain. Habitat loss and poaching are two of the biggest threats to these critically endangered tigers. Such a shame. Rhinoceros. When I was little, I always used to get rhinoceros mixed up with hippopotamus because they sound kind of the same. Black rhinoceros live in southern and eastern Africa. They are generally solitary and feed at night or during dawn and dusk, when they can escape the African sun. There was a story about a rhinoceros that I read when I was a kid. I'm sure it's like a really common story. Something about the rhinoceros's skin and how it would get really dry, and I think it managed to take it off like a coat, his skin. I can't remember now, but it always fascinated me. So you can see, again, just like with geomorphia, we've got the animal and then we've got the trees growing out of the animal, and you've got all these different creatures sat on the tree branches there. We've got a giraffe here. So yeah, there are Kerby images sprinkled through this. They're all Kerby images, but you know what I mean when I say that. But the vast majority of them are like something that you would see in kind of Discovery Channel colouring book or something, you know. So we've got, what have we got here? These are thick-billed parrots, which live in the pine forests of northern Mexico. And then here is that turtle from the front cover, of course. And this is a hawksbill turtle, which can be found primarily in shallow tropical waters among coral reefs. Then we've got whale sharks, which have these huge, wide, flat, disc-like heads. And I'm guessing with that huge mouth, they can just eat loads and loads of fish all in one go. It says they're found in the tropical oceans, and they're the largest fish alive today. They travel huge distances to find enough plankton to feed on to sustain their size. It says that their meat, fins and oil are highly valued, and overhunting remains a threat to the population of this species. They also get caught in fishing nets, and whale shark tourism can interrupt their feeding, where boat propellers can injure them. It's just, why can't we just leave them alone, you know? Okay, so clearly this is some kind of fox-like creature or wolfy kind of thing. Yeah, Ethiopian wolves. They're endemic to Ethiopia, but now live in just 7 isolated areas of this country's highlands. They prey on various small mammals such as hares and giant mole rats. It's humans, yet again, that pose the largest threat to these wolves because agriculture expands and takes over their already limited habitats. So, beautiful image though. We've got a couple of them play fighting over here, and again you've got the mountain range in the background. These are axolotls, I'm sure of it. Yes. They live exclusively in the lakes of a word that I cannot pronounce that begins with X, and nothing begins with X apart from xylophone, so that shows how uncultured I am. But it's near Mexico City. They may occasionally emerge from the water, but they mostly stay on the beds of the lakes and the canals that they live in. They were once top predators in their habitat, but the introduction of large fish into their lakes has increased their natural threats. Human interference has, of course, resulted in the draining and contamination of water in those lakes, and they're also in high demand in the aquarium trade, which further diminishes their numbers. Really sweet, actually. They're kind of weird looking, they're kind of alien looking, but they are sort of sweet. It might be nice to have a little pet axolotl, but I guess that, again, you know, that's the whole reason why they're becoming endangered, is because people want to keep these amazing creatures as pets when really they should be in the wild. So you can see I've coloured this one, and I've had it on social media for a few days since I finished it. Now, the reason that I chose the orangutan is because, well, I love all animals, but I especially love monkeys and, you know, the apes, because they are our closest family member when you look across all the species of animals, and they've just got a wisdom and just something in their eyes for me which really draws me to them, and it really, really gets to me when I think about these amazing, intelligent creatures not being here one day because of us, because of what we've done. So I absolutely love it, and I use Black Widow pencils for all of this. Reason being, I wanted to use a pencil that's a bit harder in the lead to enable me to try and get some fur strokes going on. Now, fur is not my forte. I just sort of do my best with it, and this is kind of the best you're going to get. It's not realistic. None of my colouring is really hyper realistic, but I think it looks okay. I looked into the fruit that they eat, that orangutans eat, and this is what they look like. So they've got a red flesh, and then they have a green kind of hair on them. So I coloured them in coloured pencil, and then I used a green jelly roll souffle pen to create those marks on the top. So yeah, really, really pleased. I especially like this colour that I've used for the background. It's very muted. It's called Cat's Eye, I think. Black Widow Cat's Eye. But yeah, I really love it. So then we've got the koalas. These live in the eucalyptus forests of southeastern and eastern Australia, and the eucalyptus trees provide them with both habitat and food. However, they are currently under threat from severe habitat loss because much of the forest they live in has been, of course, destroyed by bushfires and logging. We've got some whales. These are blue whales, the largest animals ever known to have existed on Earth. I mean, how amazing is that for a start? They live across all the world's oceans except the Arctic, undertaking lengthy migrations each year. Whales are another one of those creatures that I absolutely just feel an affinity with, even though they scare me to death, the size of them. When I think about how big these are and that a human being can swim through the veins of a whale, admittedly, it does make me freak a little bit, but they're so intelligent, you know. It's incredible. You watch these documentaries and it just really opens your eyes to how amazing they are. This is another beautiful image. I mean, just look at their eyes, both of them. They're really looking into your soul, aren't they? Am I getting a little bit too sensitive about this? This is called an Amur leopard or an Amur leopard. I don't want to say it wrong, but they live in the temperate forests of the far east of Russia. They're the top predators, of course, but their habitat is surrounded by agriculture and villages, so they're often hunted by humans, or their prey is hunted by humans, which reduces their access to food. We've then got red pandas, which live in the high altitude forest habitats across the mountains of Nepal and central China. They're solitary animals that spend most of their time in trees, and their endangered status is primarily due to the deforestation of their natural habitats. But yeah, fantastic. I love the snow on this, you know. It's another set of images that's going to look beautiful when coloured. So this creature, as you can see, again, we've got a kind of a mountain range on the back and then a couple of animals stood on top. So there's not a lot of originality across the composition of some of the images, I don't think. But these are adaxes, which are a species of antelope found in the Sahara Desert in Africa. Again, they almost became extinct at the end of the 20th century due to an uncontrolled hunting epidemic, and now there are thought to be fewer than 100 left in the wild. There are several hundred living in zoos and private ranches, but reintroduction to the wild relies on better protection for these animals, which are still overhunted. So we can't even release them back into their natural habitat in order to, you know, sustain and reproduce the species because of what we're doing. We're making their habitat unlivable, and the poaching and everything is just not conducive to releasing them back. What's next? Oh, these are funny looking things. Are they narwhals? No, narwhals have a horn, don't they? What are they? They are dugongs. Dugongs live in the shallow waters on the edges of the Indian and Pacific Oceans and the Red Sea. They're threatened by habitat loss and degradation to the seagrass, which is due to coastal development and activities that cause water pollution. So again, we've got the two creatures staring each other off, as we know, we've seen earlier on in the book with the bison. These are the greater sage grouse, and they're found in western parts of North America and parts of Canada. Their presence indicates a healthy sagebrush habitat, which is in turn able to support other animals such as pronghorn antelopes and songbirds. So we've got some beetles here. I'm not going to guess what they are, but I love how they're sat on top of this carcass of an animal head. So they are American burying beetles, critically endangered. They're found across the savannas and grasslands of Midwestern America and Texas. They play a really important role in the ecosystems they inhabit by breaking down dead animals. This not only provides them and their offspring with food, but it also returns nutrients to the soil. So they're kind of essential, really, and that's obviously why they're sat on top of the bone, because they are contributing to the ecosystem by breaking down these dead animals. This looks like an otter. Yes, the sea otter. They live along the coast of the Pacific Ocean in North America and Asia, and play an important role in maintaining the health of kelp forests by eating sea urchins. Today they are protected by law, but their status remains endangered. Scientists predict that populations will continue to decrease as a result of oil pollution and habitat loss. So here's another one for the really dark shade, and it'd be quite difficult, I think, to get any colour on some parts of these. These are hyenas. No, they're not. They're African wild dogs. I don't know why I try and guess, because I'm always wrong. They live in southern Africa and southern East Africa, and they can be found in other regions of Africa as well. They're opportunistic predators that will often hunt sick or weak animals. So they must be sort of similar to a hyena, in the same family, I should think, because they look very, very similar. I think hyenas maybe have a longer snout and maybe smaller ears, but that's what I initially thought when I saw them. Another fantastic double page spread, but again, you've got the creature and then you've got rocks and mountainy kind of things on top with more little creatures on top. This looks like an iguana. Yeah, marine iguanas, which inhabit, again, the Galapagos Islands. They are the world's only ocean-going lizard. Although they might look fierce, these reptiles are herbivores and they graze on algae and seaweed. Now, we're unsure of their population at the moment, but they are under threat from introduced predators such as rats, cats and dogs that feed on their eggs and young. And of course, climate change is a massive threat to a lot of these animals as well. So if I was to be shown this picture and say, what do you think this is? I would say a dormouse, but I know 100,000,000% I'm wrong. Because in fact they are Kangaroo Island dunnarts, or dunnarts, and they're found exclusively on the Kangaroo Island in Australia. Now, in the past, the primary threat to these animals was the clearing of their native habitat for agricultural purposes. However, the awful 2020 bushfires destroyed 95% of their remaining habitat, and there are now thought to be only around 50 of these creatures remaining in the wild, so they are classed as critically endangered. Super sad. They're so sweet little creatures. This looks like a hamster, and it is European hamster, critically endangered. They're found across Europe and Asia. They're an important part of the food chain, serving as prey for a range of animals, from the European red fox to the large birds. So they're important because they are the prey of another animal. But again, climate change, agriculture and light pollution this time have all contributed to their decline, and scientists predict they could become extinct within the next 3 decades. So thinking about it, your grandkids might not ever live to be on the same planet as some of these creatures. I'm really bringing the tone down, aren't I? I know it is a very serious thing, obviously, but I don't want to make anyone sad. Now, are these? No, they're not anteaters. No. They're Chinese pangolins, critically endangered. They're found in forests and grasslands in China. These animals eat ants and termites, so kind of an anteater. I was on the right track, meaning that they contribute to pest control and improve soil quality. Unfortunately, they've been poached for their meat and scales for many years because their meat is apparently considered a delicacy, and the scales are used in traditional medicine. Now these must be narwhals because they have that horn that I was talking about, yeah. So I always thought narwhals were a made up kind of thing like dragons and unicorns. How ridiculous am I know. But yeah, I actually found out they were real, I think from what you guys told me once on a video. They live in the coastal waters and rivers of the Arctic. They're at the top of the food chain and play an important role in the health of the environment they live in. They depend on sea ice because it's a place of refuge and a place to feed. And they spend up to 5 months of the year underneath the sea ice during winter. So they are directly impacted by climate change. Although they're not yet endangered, their survival is at threat due to their rapidly changing habitat. I mean, don't you think it's incredible that we've got a creature on Earth that looks like that? I mean, I would love to see one. So, looking at this, I'd say pigeon. They're Polynesian ground doves, and they're also known as tutururus, and they're found on just 5 small islands in French Polynesia. There are estimated to be around 150 of them left in the world. Gosh, that is nothing. Despite living on such a remote location, they have not escaped the toll of human interference, as the introduction of predatory mammals such as rats and cats has disturbed their habitat and ecosystem. Another one that's going to look amazing when it's coloured because of how Kerby's drawn the water on the top, and I just think some people are doing an absolutely amazing job colouring it. These look like eels. Yep, they're European eels. They can be found in a large range of freshwater and marine locations from Europe and Russia to northern Egypt. So they're sprinkled across a large area. It says they feed at night and they'll eat anything from fish to crustaceans to insects to worms. And then during the day they bury down into the mud. Sounds good to me, just eat all night and then sleep all day. Okay, so this is a double page spread. These are some sort of bird, obviously. Even I know that much. But they are, in fact, Cape rock jumpers. How cool of a name is that? They are found in Fynbos, which is an area of natural shrubland around the western and eastern Cape provinces of South Africa. Their numbers are falling, and although the specific reasons for this are unknown, it's likely to be related to climate change. So the warming climate is reducing their habitat, and this affects the amount of water that they need as well, and their feeding habits. So now we have dolphins. Dolphins are, of course, known to be, along with the great apes, the most intelligent animals on the planet. These ones live in the shallow coastal waters of New Zealand's North Island. They're the smallest and rarest marine dolphins in the world. The fact that they only live in one location, though, means they're at a greater risk of being struck by boats and accidentally caught in fishing nets. Oh, these are funny looking things, aren't they? What are these? These are hooded grebes. They're found in the regions of Argentina, and there are thought to be only 1,000 of them left in the wild, but conservation efforts are helping them to survive and thrive, which is great. And then we have... oh, what are they? They're interesting. Oh, they're Tasmanian Devils. See, when you say Tasmanian Devil, everyone thinks Tas, Looney Tunes. But really, it doesn't look anything like this at all. So I wouldn't have known what these were. I really need to watch a few more animal programs because it absolutely enthralls me. But Tasmanian Devils used to live all over Australia, but now survive only on the island state of Tasmania. They prefer to scavenge rather than hunt, so they often eat dead animals, and they clear up almost any carrion that's lying around. So just like those beetles, they're clearing up the dead animals. In the late 1800s, great efforts were made to eradicate Tasmanian devils because they were believed to be killing livestock, but thankfully they've since been given legal protection. But a rapidly spreading and contagious cancer has since caused the deaths of more than 100,000 of these marsupials. So, gosh, sometimes no matter what you do, you just can't stop things happening. Finally, we have Galapagos penguins, which are classed as endangered. So again, found on the Galapagos Island, north of the equator. They're thought to be fewer than 2,000 of these left in the wild, and they're threatened by pollution in the sea, fishing nets, and of course climate change. So yeah, just every single creature in this book is fantastic and amazing and needs to be looked after and preserved for the decades and the centuries to come. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that is going to be able to happen with all of them. But books like this, like I said earlier, no matter whether you think the illustrations are completely different to Kerby's style and, you know, whatever, it's so important. I mean, I've learned so much just reading this, and I'm sure you have too. It's so important to just raise awareness of what's going on in the world and what can we do to help. For example, the orangutans, their habitats are being completely destroyed by deforestation and palm oil as well. So looking into buying products that only have sustainable palm oil is really, really important. And just thinking about what you can do, I guess, to contribute and help towards saving these animals is just super important. So at the back you do have all of these things that I've been reading from, with a little bit of illustration at the bottom, and then just also available all of Kerby's other books and his jigsaw puzzle. So this has been a really, really long review because, as usual, I have just gabbed all the way through. But I really hope that you've enjoyed it, and I really hope that even if this is not your usual Kerby book that you fall in love with immediately because of that uniqueness and the doodles and everything, I really hope you'll give it a chance, because the first thought when I looked through it was, gosh, it's too normal, you know. But then you start to look deeper into every illustration, you think about the point of the book, and, you know, it's not about Kerby, it's not about his doodles and his style and his print, it's about the animals. So I'll get off my soapbox now, and I really hope you'll leave me a comment and let me know what you think about the book. I've already had loads and loads of comments on my flip through video of people that have loved it, people that haven't liked it so much, but as always, I'd love to hear all of your opinions. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon on Colour with Claire.